Hi everyone, today I'm going to be making some portraits with the REEFLEX G-Series 2x telephoto lens. I'm going to be taking you along with me in a behind the scenes tutorial style video. So let's have a quick look at the gear I'm using before we get started. I've got my iPhone 15 Pro Max and it's going to be sitting comfortably in REEFLEX's new carbon case. And this case is much better for shooting than the previous generation because it's a lot more grippy, it's a lot more secure, but most importantly, it looks cool. And you know what they say, Marta?
Tell me.
If your phone looks cool, then your photos will look cool.
I like that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself, anyway. And before we get started with the G-Series 2x telephoto, I'm going to take some pictures of Marta without it, because the best way to see what it's actually doing, as this is a tutorial style video, is to take some photos without it and then with it. So you can see it's not just zooming in, it's transforming your portraits in multiple different ways. So I've got Marta sat down here, and Marta, for this first picture, can you just look straight on at me? I'm in the REEFLEX Pro Camera app, I'm in RAW, and I'm going to set my white balance. I like my white balance slightly warmer, so yeah, the camera app's chosen quite nicely. ISO as low as possible, predictably, and now let's just bring the shutter speed to... Now let's go like 256, 289, that should be fine. Focus on Marta, and then Marta, can you turn your head a bit more towards me so it's straight on? Yeah, eyes looking right down the camera lens, and you get a bit closer to you actually. Let's take the photo. I think we had a blinky there. Let's do one more time. There we go. Sweet, and I'm going to do another one. Down here, can you look over here for me? Thank you. Great, and now let me introduce you to the star of the show. This Colossus is the 2x telephoto lens from REEFLEX. At the back here, we've got a 17mm mount. It's going to screw nicely onto the case, but the most exciting bit, apart from the glass and the coatings inside, is the front, because it's magnetic. So that means magnetic lens caps, magnetic lens hoods, and filters. So let me show you the difference that the lens actually makes. I'm going to take the same photos again, try and make Marta the same size in the frame, which will mean going back a little bit. Marta, same again. If you just look straight down the lens for this first one, turn your head a little bit more that way, tiny bit, that's it, and then eyes to me. Brilliant. And let me take that. Now, can you look over here? Nice. That's really nice. I'm going to move you off the rule of thirds. Okay, and I think that was everything that I got before. So let's take a look at these photos so you can see exactly what is going on. If we bring up the first one here, this is without the G-Series telephoto. You can see Marta looks great, obviously, and she may actually like this first point, but look at how thin her face looks. Her face is being pulled towards the camera. Look at her nose and things like that. Also, pay attention to the background. It looks quite far away, and there is a lot of it. And this iPhone has excellent bokeh, but it's not really rendered it out of focus from that distance. Now let's go over to the picture of the G-Series telephoto. Straight away, your face just looks a lot more natural. It looks like how you actually look in real life. You're not being squeezed or anything like that. The background is compressed, which means it looks a lot closer, and it is exaggerated, that natural bokeh of the iPhone, for a much nicer portrait. But of course I'm going to say that. I mean, look, I'm here representing REEFLEX, I'm making this tutorial, of course I'm going to say that. Marta, you're not being paid by REEFLEX, are you? What do you think of these photos, Marta? So this is the one with the G-Series telephoto, and then we have the one without it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you what you said, to be honest, because I look a little bit different
Yeah.
without the reflex lenses.
Yeah. I think another example is obviously the second one that we took here. Now, ignore the camera. I'm not trying to cheat and make the bare iPhone look worse than it actually is. Obviously, if I was making a portrait, I would have moved the camera and stuff like that. But look at how big your hand looks and your arm. You look like She-Hulk. Again, you might like that. I don't know, but
Yeah.
your hand is not that big. Whereas if we have a look at the other one,
That's much better.
the
now.
field of view is much more narrower. Just the same effects as we saw previously. It just looks much
I like
better.
it so much.
Yeah. So what address should REEFLEX send the check to?
Oh, my God.
Let's go and take some more portraits around Manchester. Poland, right? Send a check to Poland.
To what?
That's just never mind. Let's go. And we can wait and go. There we go. Let's start with getting the best bokeh. Just like with any lens, the closer you get to your subject, the shallower the depth of field will be. And as we've just seen, we can get close enough for a head and shoulders portrait without excessive barrel distortion for a really nice shallow image. I still find it hard to believe that this background blur isn't enhanced in post, but you don't have to get this close. You can step back for a mid shot and the lens will maintain that buttery background. And on top of the lens's depth of field and background compression, there's something else going on in these photos that helps create a sense of depth and draw your eye to the subject, and that's a combination of leading lines and framing. I want to find a foreground element. So let's move you back a bit now, and I'm going to use the wall and blur the wall. So keep going back a little bit. Nice. The sun's like coming down on your cheek. It's accentuating your cheekbones. The G-Series Telephoto's narrow field of view and compression go hand in hand with these two very powerful composition techniques, and I use them all the time. So, really nice curves of central library. Whichever way I turn the phone, I'm going to get some nice curves. But as usual, I think I want to go a little bit down, but now the white balance is too warm, I'd say. And just look at that separation that the lens is doing. This situation is what the lens just happens to be good at. Just bringing, because Marta's got a similar sort of skin tone to the bricks in the background, yet she's just being separated so nicely. So Marta, if we have a look at you here. Yeah, that's nice. I'm going to try before some people come along. Try and hide the people. There is a bin in the background that I want to hide as well. And there's the person now, so if we just have some patience. And can you look over here, Marta? Nice. And while some leading lines are more obvious, others not so much. So I just take my time and try my best to explore every aspect of a situation before moving on. When it comes to framing, I love to place the camera right next to an element in the foreground so it's nice and blurry, and this can simply obscure part of the image to help frame it, or it can go further and form part of a leading line as well. And just like leading lines, some frames might not be as obvious. Here there's a large bright gap that draws your eye up and away from Marta, but when the train fills that gap, it creates a barrier that helps frame the scene and keeps your attention down here. But there's something else going on in these photos under the archway that's helping create a sense of depth and make these photos more engaging, and that's these pockets of light in the background. I find this example with the light spilling onto the floor far more engaging than this example where I cut it off. Plus, her pose with the arm up acts like a barrier. It feels jarring, so I'm taking an L on this one. Whereas with this example where she's turned to the side, it's a lot more open and inviting. Plus, the lighting in these photos is reflecting off of the surroundings and onto Marta. Now Marta has some direct sunlight on her face that's actually being reflected from this building here. This is the perfect kind of light for a photo shoot, especially in RAW on the iPhone, because as the light's reflecting, it's diffusing it a bit, it's not as harsh, and it's just catching Marta's skin beautifully. But if she was to step a little bit to this way, the light isn't on her face as much anymore. Now step back Marta into the sunlight, and it just transforms her so dramatically. And now that there's not many people around, let's just try and take some photos. Can you stand at an angle for me, Marta? Whichever way you would prefer to stand. Yeah, I know that's your favourite side, isn't it? So, yeah, that was a nice smile, actually. If we just try and wait. A little bit faster shutter speed. A bit darker now. And we still have the depth in the background, and that light is just creating that depth as well now. Can you look over there again, Marta, like you just did? In fact, no, it works better looking towards me. Yeah, towards me. And you had a really nice smile a second ago. Can you do that? I know it was a natural smile, wasn't it? It's hard to replicate. Could you perhaps put your hands up? Yeah, and can I just move you? Yeah, just like that. And that's it for this video. Please feel free to ask any questions you like, and either myself or the REEFLEX team will answer. And if I can, I'll go over some of the more frequently asked questions in the next video.